Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm going to do another series review, which this time it's going to be, Razzle Dazzle, The Battle for Broadway by Michael Riedel, and then the sequel to that, which is Singular Sensation, Singular Sensation, The Triumph of Broadway. So the first book, Razzle Dazzle, which covers the inception of the Schubert organization, which is the organization that more or less brought Broadway back from the brink of bankruptcy. It had started off with these three brothers. It's been a while since I've read this. Hold on, when did I read this? Well, I didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook, which was really good. Okay, it's been almost 2 years since I listened to this. But it's really good because it covers like the beginnings of the Schubert organization, and then it goes into really hits in the 1970s when New York, if you don't know, was at its worst, basically. Times Square, which is what Broadway is off of, was incredibly like dangerous, seedy, lots of porn palaces. And so things are going out, and Broadway just is not surviving. They just don't have the like money anymore. And how it's done is that producers will put their money towards a production, and that's what that's kind of what producers do, but it's after it's workshopped. And so the Schubert organization, which ended up being run by two lawyers, because when all the brothers died, it was left to these two lawyers who weirdly, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit, not a lot. I don't love lawyers, like actually worked with stagehands. Like they wanted to pay them a livable wage. They had good intentions, if you will. I'm sorry. And so they were able to bring Broadway back with like hits like A Chorus Line, Cats, Les Miserables. They were the ones who found Fosse. And like there were other organizations going on, other organizations around this time too that they were like rivals with and what have you, who brought to light, like if you think about the big musicals from like late 60s, really it's the 70s, so it's like a Sondheim era. A little bit into the 80s, he really just covers the 70s here, like a Bob Fosse era, basically. And Bob Fosse, for those who don't know, was like a super popular choreographer. Jenna Ortega, in her Wednesday dance, actually looked at some Bob Fosse videos. And like somebody did like a duet with it, and it's like, oh, okay, good girl. She admits to it, but it's like, it's really neat to like see it next to each other. So I'm like, okay, like makes sense, Bob Fosse. And they go a little bit into the 80s, but it's not till Singular Sensation that they really get into the 80s and the 90s. The 80s is when we get the British invasion, is what they call it, but it's really like Cameron Mackintosh, I think his name is, because his last name was something to do with an apple. So if I remember correctly, it's Mackintosh. Cameron Mackintosh came over from the UK, and he brought with him, he's the one who's responsible for Les Mis, I think it's Cats, but I think he also had a hand in Phantom of the Opera, because this is also when we get Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera, which I hate. Okay? Hot take time. I hate the Phantom of the Opera. Songs are okay. The only one that slaps is fucking Masquerade. Love it every single time. I hate all the characters. I want to throw Raoul off the fucking ledge. Like, I can't stand the fucking Phantom. I've read the book. Book starts out with promise, ends horribly in my opinion. Also, there's a character in there who's fascinating. He gets a paragraph, and then it's like, what is this? And it's so bad. So bad. Like the play, which I still, the musical, which I hate, is better than the book. It's like, I hate the musical and I hate the book more. Like, there's no getting away. They also brought back like Angels in America, actual straight plays. So straight plays means like plays that are not musicals. They brought back it with like Angels in America, which was a big thing. And then I remember they made a movie out of it, which I have never watched because I have exactly zero desire. He does talk about Rent. He does talk about Jonathan Larson. I do recommend watching Tick, Tick, Boom on Netflix with Andrew Garfield. Excellent fucking movie. Sunday brunch at the Broadway Diner or whatever it is, at the Blue Plate Diner, what have you. God, that song's so good. There's a bunch of Broadway legends in that scene. Like, there's a bunch of Broadway legends in the whole movie, but like in that scene in particular, it's such a good song, and you're just like, God, it's such an earworm. Such an earworm, so good. But Tick, Tick, Boom is about Jonathan Larson and like his life right before he started writing Rent. Just watch Tick, Tick, Boom. Like, it's probably not like, they probably took some liberties with it, but Jonathan Larson wrote Tick, Tick, Boom too, so it's like, you can't really go wrong with that. We did talk about Rent, about the fact that it introduced the lottery system, about the fact that he unfortunately passed away like the night before opening or something like that. So when they like opened, they didn't act or anything. They just sat on stage and they read their lines and they sang the songs and what have you, because it's mostly a sung play throughout the entire show. Like there's very little like stop and like talk. It's a very sung play. Rent is very good, and it was definitely more like 90s. Like this is definitely a play for the new age, which is, you know, this is the early 90s. This is Nirvana. This is like we're starting to get into grunge. So they also talk about Cats. Fuck, Cats exists. It was based off a very short story done by T.S. Eliot, and whoever like read it was like, I'm going to write a musical about it. I'm like, okay. I have zero desire to fucking see Cats, okay? Like, you either love or you hate Cats. And my parents tried to see it twice and fell asleep at least once during. But yeah, like, again, you either love Cats or you hate it. It is definitely a cult classic. But it does talk about, like, Cats became a thing. They didn't think it was going to become a thing, but it became a thing. Oh, and then it really kind of stops on, like, the deeper explanations on the producers, which starred Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, who also starred in the movie later on, and how the producers, the big thing with the producers is that Broadway went dark when 9/11 happened. Okay, they shut off their lights, but they were open the next day, like 9/12, they opened up because they believed in entertainment, bringing joy to the masses who had none. That night at the end of the show, they sang, I don't know if it was God Bless America or if it was the Star Spangled Banner, but they stood up and like sang on stage, you know, because Broadway was the first thing back after 9/11, because they were like, entertainment can be the art, can be the thing that brings people back, you know, gives them joy again. Because again, this is literally the day after 9/11. Now I might have gotten that wrong, maybe it was a week later or what have you, but I do know it was very soon after the event. You know, the producers, he does talk a bit about like going, you know, finishing out the 20-aughts, out the aughts years, which we start getting like Avenue Q. Book of Mormon came out. Book of Mormon, very much a play of its time. I love Book of Mormon. Anything that makes fun of fucking religion, especially Christianity, I love. A little bit, like a teeny tiny bit about Hamilton at the end. The only reason he doesn't go deep into it is he himself says this could have gotten into Jack Kerouac territory. Like, some people don't love these two books. There might be better books out there. I don't know. You have to like figure this out for yourself. But I really enjoyed this. This even just giving me a broad overview of things, because I think too many people are looking for specifics, and sometimes a book is just a broad overview of a subject. But sometimes that's enough to at least whet your appetite. And I think these two books did a really good job. And again, I like listened to them on audio. They were very like, you know, they were great books to listen to while I went to and from work. So I highly recommend, like, these are good, well-written nonfiction books. I hope he comes out with a third book in this, because I want him to go into the Hamilton shit. Like, I really want to know. Like, the tea, please? I'm gonna take the tea. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. So I highly recommend giving this a try. Like, if you're interested in Broadway's history or like entertainment, theater history, you know, and it's just a brief, you know, just a little overview of everything. I highly recommend giving this a read. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this piqued your interest, and let me know what you think down below, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.